Hello, and a very warm welcome. I want to start by asking you to think about your morning. Think about that quiet moment, just after you wake up. The sun is just starting to filter through the curtains, the house is still, and for a brief second, the day feels full of possibility. But then, perhaps, another feeling creeps in. A subtle, nagging worry. Maybe it's a feeling of stiffness in your joints as you swing your legs out of bed. Maybe it's a moment of dizziness as you stand up too quickly. Or maybe it's a deeper unspoken fear that lives in the back of your mind. A fear about your health, your independence, and what the future holds. We're often told that the biggest threats to our health in our golden years are things we can see coming. High cholesterol numbers on a lab report, a slow but steady weight gain, or the diagnosis of a chronic condition. We focus on diet plans, exercise routines, and a cabinet full of medications. But what if I told you that one of the greatest dangers, particularly to your heart and your brain, is a silent process that happens every single night? A process that turns the safest, most peaceful time of day, your sleep, into a period of hidden risk. This silent danger dramatically increases the odds of a cardiovascular event, like a heart attack or a stroke, in those first few hours after waking. It's the reason why more strokes happen between 6 a.m. and noon than at any other time of day. It's a threat that most health advice completely overlooks, yet it's something we all experience. The consequence of ignoring it isn't just a statistic, it's the very real, heart-wrenching fear of losing our ability to live on our own terms, of becoming a burden to our loved ones, of missing out on seeing our grandchildren grow up. In this video, we are going to pull back the curtain on this hidden morning danger. And more importantly, I am going to share with you one single powerful habit, a habit so simple you can start it tomorrow morning, that new research suggests can slash your risk of a morning stroke by as much as 50%. This isn't a new pill or a complicated diet. It is a fundamental key to unlocking a safer, healthier morning and a more vibrant life. So, stay with me, because what you're about to learn could truly change everything. Now, I know that hearing all of this might sound alarming. Talking about the risks of a stroke, especially in such a direct way, can bring up a lot of fear and anxiety, and the very last thing I want is to add to that burden. My goal here is the exact opposite. Because knowledge, when it's presented clearly and compassionately, isn't meant to scare us, it's meant to empower us. It gives us back a sense of control over our own bodies and our own futures. And that's what this community is truly about. It's a place where we can discuss these important health topics openly, without judgment, and learn together. If you believe in this mission of taking charge of our health, I invite you to click that subscribe button and become a part of our growing family. And to help me ensure we're always talking about what matters most to you, please, take a moment to go down to the comments and share one thing. What is the #1 health concern on your mind right now? Your answers are what shape the future of this channel. Now, with that said, let's get to the heart of the matter. To understand the solution, we first need to understand the problem. Let's start by looking at what's really happening inside your body during those quiet hours of the night. So, what is this hidden danger that accumulates while we sleep? It's something so fundamental, we almost never think about it in this context. The simple truth is that for 6, 7, or 8 hours every single night, your body is in a state of fasting, not just from food, but more critically, from water. We can call this process nocturnal dehydration. While you are resting peacefully, your body is hard at work, performing thousands of maintenance tasks. And these tasks require fuel and they produce exhaust. One of the most significant things happening is that you are constantly losing water. Think about it. With every single breath you exhale, a little puff of water vapor leaves your body. You can see it on a cold day. That visible cloud is moisture from your lungs. Over 8 hours, this adds up to a significant amount of water loss. At the same time, your body is regulating its temperature through a process called perspiration. We're not talking about drenching night sweats, but a very subtle, almost imperceptible evaporation of moisture from the surface of your skin. It happens to everyone, every night. When you combine the water lost from breathing with the water lost through your skin, the average person can lose up to a full pound of water weight overnight. And since you aren't drinking anything to replace it, you wake up in a state of natural, mild dehydration. Now, why is this so critical for your stroke risk? The answer lies in what this dehydration does to your blood. Our blood is about 92% water. It's designed to be a fluid, fast-moving river, carrying life-giving oxygen and nutrients to every single cell in our body, from the tips of our toes to the most delicate tissues of our brain. When we are well hydrated, this river flows smoothly. But when we become dehydrated, the water volume in our blood decreases. Imagine a pot of soup on the stove. If you let it simmer for a long time without a lid on, the water evaporates, and the soup gets thicker and thicker. The exact same thing happens to your blood overnight. It becomes more concentrated, more viscous. In simpler terms, it gets thicker and stickier. This is where the danger really begins. Your heart is an incredible muscle, but it's designed to pump a fluid, not a sludge. When your blood is thick, your heart has to work much harder to push it through your thousands of miles of blood vessels. It's like trying to suck a thick milkshake through a very thin straw. The strain on the heart muscle itself increases dramatically. And this thick, sticky blood is also more prone to clotting. Platelets and other clotting factors are more concentrated, making them more likely to clump together and form a dangerous thrombus, a blood clot. If that clot forms in a vessel in your heart, it causes a heart attack. If it travels to your brain and gets stuck, it causes an ischemic stroke, which accounts for nearly 90% of all strokes. Let's bring this out of the realm of science and into your real-life experience. Think about how you feel some mornings. That dry, pasty mouth. That slight, dull headache that seems to be sitting right behind your eyes. The feeling of mental fog, where it takes a few extra moments for your thoughts to come into focus. Or perhaps you feel a bit sluggish and weak, and getting out of bed feels like a genuine effort. We often dismiss these feelings. We say, "Oh, I'm just not a morning person," or "That's just what getting older feels like." But I want you to reframe that starting tomorrow. These are not just vague feelings of aging. They are direct, physical signals from your body telling you that it is dehydrated, that your blood is thick, that your brain isn't receiving the optimal, smooth flow of oxygen it needs to function at its best, that your heart is under strain. Recognizing these sensations not as a personality trait, but as a critical physiological warning sign, is the first giant leap toward protecting yourself. This overnight dehydration creates the first dangerous ingredient for a morning stroke: thick, slow-moving blood. But this is only one part of the story. This thickened blood then collides with a second powerful process that kicks in the moment you wake up, creating a perfect storm inside your cardiovascular system. Let's explore that next. This process is a natural, biological alarm clock known as the cortisol awakening response. And when it combines with that state of nocturnal dehydration, it creates a truly perfect storm for your cardiovascular system. Cortisol often gets a bad rap. We associate it with stress. And while it is a stress hormone, its primary day-to-day job is to manage our energy and wakefulness cycles. Think of it as your body's own shot of espresso. In the hours leading up to your natural wake-up time, your adrenal glands begin to steadily release cortisol into your bloodstream. This release peaks about 30 to 45 minutes after your eyes open. This surge is designed to do one thing: get you up and ready for the day. It tells your liver to release glucose, sugar, into your bloodstream for immediate energy. And most importantly for our conversation today, it sends a powerful signal to the smooth muscles lining your arteries and veins, telling them to tighten up, to constrict. This constriction of your blood vessels causes your blood pressure to rise. In a perfectly healthy, young, and well-hydrated body, this is a brilliant and harmless mechanism. It raises your blood pressure from its lower, sleeping level to a normal, functioning daytime level, ensuring enough blood flow gets to your brain so you don't feel dizzy when you stand up. It's the jolt that takes you from a state of rest to a state of readiness. But now, let's place this powerful hormonal event back into the context of an aging body that is waking up dehydrated. This is where the danger multiplies. Remember our pot of soup that has thickened overnight? Now imagine trying to force that thick, sludgy soup through a garden hose. It's already difficult. But the cortisol surge is the equivalent of someone suddenly stepping on that hose, squeezing it hard. The pressure inside that hose skyrockets. This is exactly what's happening inside your blood vessels. You have thick, viscous, clot-prone blood being forced through newly constricted, tightened arteries. The strain on your entire cardiovascular system, your heart, your arteries, your brain, is immense in these first few minutes of the day. Let's translate this into a feeling you might recognize. You're woken up by your alarm clock. That jarring sound creates an instant stress response, amplifying the cortisol surge. Your heart might start beating a little faster, a little harder. You sit up, maybe a bit too quickly, and the room sways for a second. That dizziness is a sign that your system is struggling to regulate blood pressure and get enough oxygen to your brain under these stressful conditions. Or perhaps you just feel a sense of inner agitation, a wired or anxious feeling first thing in the morning. This isn't just a mood. It's the physical sensation of your nervous system and hormonal system going into overdrive to manage this high-pressure internal event. This combination of thick blood and tight vessels is particularly dangerous for two reasons. First, the sheer force and pressure, known as hemodynamic stress, can damage the delicate inner lining of your arteries over time. Second, and more acutely, this sudden surge in pressure can be the trigger that causes a catastrophe. If a person has pre-existing vulnerabilities in their arteries, something most of us have to some degree after age 60, this pressure spike can be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It can be the very thing that dislodges a piece of plaque, which then travels to the brain and causes a stroke. So we have this dangerous combination: thick, sludgy blood from dehydration, and a powerful hormonal pressure surge from our natural waking response. But this combination only becomes truly catastrophic when it meets the third, and perhaps most inevitable, part of this equation: the condition of our blood vessels themselves. As we age, our circulatory system, our vast network of arteries and veins, undergoes changes. Think of them as the roadways of your body. When you're young, these roads are brand new. They are smooth, wide, and incredibly flexible. But after 60 or 70 years of constant traffic, day and night, these roads inevitably show some wear and tear. The primary form of this wear and tear is a process many of us have heard of, but perhaps don't fully understand: atherosclerosis. We often think of it simply as clogged pipes, but it's more complex and insidious than that. Atherosclerosis is actually an inflammatory condition. Over the decades, things like high blood pressure, elevated blood sugar, and certain fats in the blood can cause tiny injuries to the delicate inner lining of our arteries. The body's response to this injury is to patch it up, creating what we call a plaque deposit. This plaque is a mixture of cholesterol, fats, calcium, and cellular waste. But it's not just a hard, inert clog. It's an active, inflamed site. It makes the inside of the artery rough and narrow, like a smooth road developing potholes and bumps. At the same time, a related process is happening to the artery walls themselves. This is called arteriosclerosis, which simply means a hardening of the arteries. A young, healthy artery is remarkably elastic and flexible. When your heart beats and pushes a wave of blood through, the artery expands slightly to accommodate the pressure, just like a flexible garden hose. This elasticity acts as a buffer, a shock absorber that protects the entire system. With age, however, our arteries lose this elasticity. They lose the pliable proteins that keep them supple and become more stiff and brittle, more like an old, rigid pipe than a flexible hose. Now, let's put it all together. Let's return to our morning scenario. You're waking up. Your blood is thick and sticky. The cortisol surge hits, telling your blood vessels to constrict. But now, your arteries are stiff. They can't expand to absorb that sudden spike in pressure. The pressure has nowhere to go, so it skyrockets to dangerous levels within that rigid, narrow system. And inside that high-pressure pipe, the thick blood is rushing past those rough, bumpy, inflamed plaque deposits. Imagine this for a moment. Picture one of those plaques on the wall of a critical artery leading to your brain. It's like a small, fragile scab. In the high-pressure chaos of the morning surge, the sheer force of the blood flow can literally rip that plaque deposit right off the artery wall. This creates two immediate dangers. First, the body instantly tries to repair the new wound where the plaque was, and it can form a large blood clot right on that spot, blocking the artery entirely. Second, the dislodged piece of plaque itself now becomes a dangerous missile, tumbling through the bloodstream until it gets to a vessel too narrow to pass through, often in the intricate network of the brain, and gets stuck, cutting off all blood flow to that area. That is an ischemic stroke. It's a sobering picture, but I want you to truly understand the mechanics, because it highlights exactly where our power lies. You might feel a sense of helplessness hearing this. We can't stop our arteries from aging, can we? It feels like an inevitable part of the journey. And while that's partly true, we all experience some hardening of the arteries. This perspective reveals the most critical point. The condition of our arteries is just the landscape. It's the terrain. The real, immediate, and controllable danger is the event that happens on that landscape. The violent, high-pressure morning surge of thick blood. We can't undo 60 years of wear and tear on our roadways overnight. But what if we could change the nature of the traffic? What if we could ensure that the river flowing through those weathered canyons was smooth, fluid, and gentle, instead of a thick, forceful, raging torrent? That is the piece of this puzzle that is 100% within our control every single day. And that brings us, finally, to the simple, elegant, and profoundly powerful solution to this perfect morning storm. We've now seen the three components that create this perfect storm in the morning: the thick, viscous blood from nocturnal dehydration, the powerful hormonal surge that constricts our blood vessels and raises our blood pressure, and the stiff, plaque-lined arteries that can't handle the strain. It sounds like a complex and daunting problem, one that involves chemistry, hormones, and decades of biology. But the solution, the master key that can disrupt this entire dangerous cascade, is beautifully, almost unbelievably simple. It's the habit of drinking 16 ounces, that's 2 regular-sized glasses, of plain water, immediately upon waking. Let's break down exactly why this simple act is so profoundly effective, and how it directly counteracts each of the 3 risk factors we've discussed. The most immediate and powerful effect is on the first problem: your thick, viscous blood. Remember that your blood volume is low and concentrated after 8 hours without fluid intake. When you introduce 16 ounces of water into your system first thing, before coffee, before tea, before breakfast, you are performing a rapid, systemic rehydration. The water is absorbed quickly from your stomach and small intestine into your bloodstream. This almost instantly increases the plasma volume of your blood. Think back to our analogy of the thick soup simmering on the stove. This is like pouring a large cup of fresh broth back into the pot and giving it a good stir. The soup immediately thins out, returning to its proper, fluid consistency. The same thing happens to your blood. It becomes less viscous, less sticky. The red blood cells can flow more freely, untangled from one another. The concentration of platelets and clotting factors decreases, making them far less likely to clump together and form a dangerous clot. Within minutes of drinking that water, you have fundamentally changed the character of your blood from a potential hazard into a healthy, flowing river of life. You have single-handedly disarmed the primary ingredient of a morning stroke. Now, what about the second factor, the cortisol awakening response and the subsequent blood pressure spike? Water doesn't stop the cortisol from being released. That's a natural and necessary biological process. But what it does is change the environment in which that cortisol surge occurs. When your blood is thin and fluid, your heart doesn't have to work nearly as hard to pump it. So, when your vessels constrict from the cortisol, the overall rise in blood pressure is significantly less dramatic. Instead of a violent, dangerous spike, it's a much more gentle, manageable increase. The internal pressure remains within a safer range because the liquid being pumped is now easy to move. It's the difference between stepping on a hose full of sludge versus a hose full of freely flowing water. The pressure still goes up, but it doesn't reach the same catastrophic peak. And finally, how does this affect the third factor, our aging, stiff arteries? This is perhaps the most beautiful part of the solution. By drinking water, we are essentially extending an olive branch to our own circulatory system. We are creating a gentler internal environment. The thinned-out blood flows more smoothly over those rough plaque deposits, with far less force. This hemodynamic shear stress is dramatically reduced. This means there is significantly less physical force trying to rip a plaque off the artery wall. You are protecting the vulnerable areas of your roadways from the torrent they would otherwise have to endure. You are, in a very real sense, soothing your entire cardiovascular system, telling it, it's okay. We don't have to start the day in a state of emergency. Imagine yourself trying this tomorrow morning. Before your feet even hit the floor, you reach for a glass of water that you left on your bedside table the night before. You drink it down. You drink a second one. You can almost feel it, a sense of cool, clean hydration spreading through your body. The fogginess in your head begins to lift a little faster. The dry, pasty feeling in your mouth is gone. As you stand up, you might notice you feel a bit more stable, a bit less lightheaded. What you're feeling is the direct result of this internal transformation. You have preemptively diluted the danger. You have buffered the hormonal jolt. You have turned down the pressure inside your own body. You have taken the single most effective step you possibly can to ensure that your day begins not with risk, but with safety and vitality. This simple glass of water is not just hydration. It's an act of profound self-care and a potent form of preventative medicine. And so, we've traveled on quite a journey together today. We started by shining a light on a quiet, unspoken fear, the vulnerability we can feel in those first few hours of the morning. We pulled back the curtain on the complex, hidden mechanics happening inside our bodies while we sleep. The way our blood thickens, the way our hormones create a powerful pressure surge upon waking, and the way this all interacts with the natural, age-related changes in our cardiovascular system. It's a process that, when left unchecked, creates a genuine period of risk for the very events we fear most. But the point of this journey was never to leave you with a sense of fear. It was to arm you with a profound understanding. Because when you understand the why behind a problem, the what to do becomes not just a chore, but a meaningful and empowering ritual. We live in a world that often tells us the solutions to our health problems must be complicated and expensive. New drugs, complex diets, difficult exercise regimens. Yet, what the science is showing us here is that the most powerful intervention is also the most simple. It's accessible to every single one of us, right now. This habit of drinking 16 ounces of water upon waking is so much more than just a way to quench your thirst. It is a conscious, deliberate act of taking back control. It is a way of telling your body, I will not let my day begin in a state of stress and danger. With those 2 simple glasses of water, you are actively thinning your blood, easing the burden on your heart, and calming the turbulent storm within your arteries. You are transforming your morning from a moment of vulnerability into a moment of power. You are replacing anxiety with action. I want you to think of that glass of water on your nightstand not just as water, but as your master key. It's the key to a safer morning. It's the key to taking a tangible step every single day to protect your brain, your heart, and your precious independence. Health is not just about avoiding illness. It's about cultivating vitality. It's about having the energy and the peace of mind to fully enjoy the life you've worked so hard to build. This simple habit is your daily commitment to that vitality. I truly hope this conversation has been as enlightening for you as it has been for me. If you found this information valuable, if it gave you a new sense of hope and control, the most powerful way you can help this community grow is by clicking that like button. It tells YouTube that this is important information that other people, just like you, need to see. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We are building something special here, a place for deep dives, for clear answers, and for genuine support on our shared journey to a healthier, more vibrant life. Thank you so much for your time and for your trust today. Here's to a safer morning tomorrow, and to many, many more healthy days ahead. Take good care.